let's start with a fresh na copy of Revit. Okay, so I'm just gonna go File and then New. Don't worry, I'll be discussing this later. I'll go for, don't mind lang sa dito. Okay. So once you open Revit and you start a new file, you will be getting something like this. Okay, let's start with the user interface. Similar to most AutoCAD ng mga softwares, this is very typical. You have the ribbon. You said the ring apart, you know? This is the ribbon. You still have that in Revit. And all these tabs, okay? We call this the tabs, okay? So these are the important parts of Revit. So we start with the tabs here, okay? And then below that, you have the ribbons. Okay, the use of the ribbon is, this is where you would create all your models. Okay, without the ribbon, it would be difficult to create some of the models in Revit. And then just below that, right now, it's a black space in between this area here. Okay, but we call this the options bar. Okay, so below that, this one here, this is called the properties palette. By default, magpapadon tayo silang duha niya. Put this down. Supposedly, it's somewhere down here. Okay? The project na LC palette. Okay? By default, you will be seeing something like that. Okay? So you have the properties toolbar. And this one here is called the project browser. So what I like to do is, I grab the title of the project browser, and then I want to dock it on the other side so that I would be able to see that clearly. So this is a very good setup when you start Revit. Okay, so we have our properties bar on the left, and we have the project browser on the right. If you go to the bottom, here, these are our visual controls. Okay, you have the scale, you have the shadow, you have the sun, and so on. Okay, we will be using that later on. And to the lower leftmost, this is called the status bar. This is like the command line of AutoCAD. This is the means of communication between you and Revit. Okay, so this is just a guide. Okay, so basically, that's it. Oh, sorry. And then you have your drawing area here with all the tabs. Okay. The funny thing about Revit is every time you open a view, which is this one here, it would have all of these tabs here. Okay, so you will have access to that. But later on, I'll teach you how to manage that properly. So let's try to look at the properties bar a bit in detail. Okay. So if you look at the properties bar, you'll notice there are those gray areas there. Those are the headers. This one here. So we have the graphics. If you click on the arrow on the right, you will collapse that. Okay, same with this one here. So these are the different sections that you have on your properties toolbar. So you have the graphics, the underlay, the extents, the identity data, and the spacing. Okay. Again, later on, we will be discussing all of them in detail. And then on your project browser, you have the different views. Okay? So these are views. When we're talking about views, we're talking about floor plans, ceiling plans, elevations, sections, sheets. Okay? So views are equivalent to elevations and plans and sections. Okay? So my difference, yeah, the project browser gives you the views. Okay, you also have that plus and minus to collapse and to roll out the items. And the properties toolbar gives you the properties of your models here. You will understand that later when we go to our exercise.